Yo, what's going on? This is the build that I'll be using and I'll explain it as the video goes on. So my head slot is just the normal bite, it's your only option. Now when I'm grouped I'll use all for one, but if I'm running it solo I'll use the ambush. All for one is really good because it increases your damage by 8% when nearby another medium sized carnivore, and it also increases your health recovery by 10%. Your second option is ambush, which your first attack outside of combat there's 150% increased damage. So the first hit you land, and it has to be the first hit, you always have to make sure that you land the first hit if you're in an ambush. My metabolism is hyper carnivore, it's the only option you have. Now for my hide I use slick feathers. Bucking and struggling while being carried will now drain enemy stamina 30% faster. I really like it fighting against raptors because when Latins jump on you they end up taking like half of your HP before you end up draining all of their stamina and bucking them off. Now your other option is dense feathers, increases bleed healing rate by 40%, so that's good for fighting like Styrax and Kentros and just anything that does bleed. And for my leg slot I use long distance runner, which reduces running stamina drain by 15%. Even though the Alio is the fastest carnivore on land, and it has really good stam, I just like the extra stam for fighting bigger groups and just getting away. You just don't have to look at your stamina as much. Your second option is leap, which is good. Increases jump height and decreases fall damage. You can get up on some areas that normally you wouldn't be able to, but I just prefer long distance runner. For my voice I use Tyrant's Roar, which it stacks up to 3 times, so each stack gives 10% damage increase, but it can only be used in a group, so that's the only problem. But the good thing about Tyrant's Roar is that it works for any Tyrannids, so Rex, Dasp, Alio. It's also your only option. And then for my tail ability, I use tail attack. That's also your only option. There's light damage and knockback. Now I think that Alio is a much better group dino than it is a solo dino, so try to use it in a group. You can use it solo, but it's more of a hit and run style compared to when you're in a group. You're more of a pressure style, and you're still hit and running, but you have 3 other people with you just doing the same thing. With your bait and switching. So if you're solo, you won't be able to use Tyrant's Roar, and you also won't be able to use all for one. So your only option is ambush, which gives you 150% increased damage on the first hit of entering combat. So what you really want to do if you're solo and playing an Alio, you just want to hit someone, run away for 30 seconds, wait for ambush to come back, and then just keep doing that. That would probably be the best usage, unless someone's already low. Now I don't like ambush in a group setting because whenever someone in your team gets into combat, that counts as the first hit. So the 150% damage, you won't get it. And in this clip you actually see me use a Rex because these 2 EOs came over, so this is the only part you see me use a Rex instead of an Alio. Also ambush doesn't really work in the constant pressure that you can put on as an Alio, so yeah. But good thing about Alio and the Rex or the Dasp, you can pair them up really well. They make really good combos. For example, the Rex has Deep Rumble, which increases damage by 30%. So that gives it to every Alio and himself in a Dasp. And then say you put it up with a Dasp, you will get 30% increased armor if there's 2 Dasps that have a Tyrant's ally. And everybody knows that Alio can be quite squishy. I'm going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the Alio. Now before I do that, I'm quickly going to go over 3 combos that I would use on Alio. The first one is just 5 Alios. You can kill like anything with 5 Alios. Only problem is Tyrant only stacks up to 3 times. The second combo is Alio, Dasp, and Rex. And you can get a bunch of different calls and a bunch of different like Tyrant's Ally, Tyrant's Run, Deep Rumble all together, which makes you very powerful. But honestly, the Rex is really slow, and I feel like unless you're fighting something big, it's not very helpful. So that's probably my least favourite one. But I would say my most favourite out of all of those is 2 Alios and 2 Dasps, because Dasps have a really good ability to kill the bigger stuff, and the Alios close the void of the Dasps not being fast enough to chase down smaller things that they've gotten low. Not only that, Tyrant's Ally gives you 30% increase armor on the Alio, which is really good. Now the Alio has really good stam and speed and damage when you use your calls, and then it can have really good armor when it's paired up with Dasps, especially 2 that run Tyrant's Ally. But without those Dasps, they're very squishy, and their turn radius isn't also very good. Also, I forgot to mention, but the subspecies I use is plus 3 attack damage. Your other option is plus 25% jump height, which is if you use leap, then you could play into that. And the last one is plus 10 stam recovery, which is alright. I just like the extra damage. I would say the only bad matchup for the Alio is the Styrak, because the Styrak's got a really good hitbox and a really good turn radius as well, so it can defend itself very well. But if you just tail ride the Styrak, there's not much you can do. Now, the Alio is really good at fighting big groups because it's really fast, so the only things that can catch you on land are Struffy and Campto. And then if you play Gondwa, obviously the flyers can keep up with you, but if you can lose them in the trees. So besides the Campto and Struffy, nothing can get away from you unless it can fly, go in the water, or jump up on the rock. Which if you run leap, then you can also jump up on the rock. So now if you're fighting Alios, don't just run without a plan. Unless you're gonna go up to a rock or near deep enough water if you're like an Apex, or maybe put yourself against the wall. But if you have no plan and just run like this Metri here, it's the worst thing you can do. The whole time you just get tail ridden, and you just get damage put on you, and it just ends up getting you killed. You cannot outrun Alios, so there's no point. The best thing you can do is stand your ground and fight. Now the Alio's got really good health recovery, and it has decent stam recovery as well. Its food and water drain is okay. For anyone wondering why that matters, is because the more food and water you have, the faster you regain your HP. I'm pretty sure it goes for stamina as well. Now the Alio is a pretty good dino, and I think it takes more skill than most, because you have to be careful with what type of damage you take and when you decide to attack, because of how squishy you are. But at the same time, if you're really good and don't get hit often, and you can just put a lot of damage on people. And nothing can punish you because you're so fast, unless they have like a Struffy and Campto, and also if you're not low enough, then those things won't be able to kill you either. Now another bad matchup for the Alio is the Kentro, just because of how tanky the Kentro is and how squishy the Alio is. The Kentro's really not that tanky anymore. It used to be, but it puts on bleed on you, and you passively take reflective damage, which the Alio can't really afford to take much damage. Now I would say Alio is definitely one of the better 2 slots in the game. Probably the best carnivore 2 slot. It just works really good in a team, and it does a bunch of damage, so you can't really kill anything. And it also just has a lot of Obviously, it doesn't have a lot of abilities, but the Rex and the Dasp do, that play really well into each other. The Alio's in a good spot. It does need a TOC. Hopefully they don't make the Alio bad. But it is also just really good already, so I mean, I'm sure they'll add some things that play into the Dasp and the Rex for the Alio. Yeah. The running of the Alio is also very silent. It's not loud, and its crouch, even though the Alio is pretty tall, so you can use the water against like raptors. When it crouches, it actually gets really low, so it's a really good ambush hunter as well. Really have any problems with the Alio. It's all around great dino. Besides the fact that it is squishy, but you can, if you run 2 Dasps and 2 Alios, then it doesn't matter. You get that 30% increased armor. So yeah, it's a all around solid dino. Not so good for 1v1s, just because how squishy it is, and its turn radius isn't the best. It is got still decent turn radius, but because of how fast it is, it kind of isn't so good. So yeah. Now it's also very important when you are a pack of Alios. When enemy has other Alios, you always want to focus the other Alios and get them out as soon as possible, because that's the biggest danger to an Alio, is another pack of Alios, because they can do a lot of damage and they can also just catch up to you. Never, when you're fighting another Alio, never give away your tail, because you can't outrun another Alio and they just stay on you the whole entire time until you end up dying. Even 2 Alios can do a lot of damage as long as you play it right and don't take too much damage yourself. Now, if you play Gondor, you do have to watch out, because Hatsies can clamp you and pick you up. Same as Sarkos, they can clamp you and pick you up. Now, even without the jump subspecies and leap, you can still jump pretty high on an Alio, so just be careful, because you can see the Sakilla wasn't expecting you to get up and ends up dying. Now, when you play the Alio, you do want to bait and switch. If you can tail ride someone consistently, then do it. But just make sure you're not hitting each other, and watch out for stomps as well, because stomps do a lot of damage against Alios. Now, anything with a good tail attack that does a lot of damage is quite a hard matchup for the Alio. Like the Stego. If the Stego hits you one time, it takes like half of your HP away, if not more. Same goes for the Armaga. The Armaga's got a really good tail hit. So that's why I really like the 2 Dasps and 2 Alios combo, because that gives you that 30% armor. So yeah. Other than that, you shred pretty much everything else. Like small raptors, they can't really get away from you, so you just chase them down and end up killing them really easily. Same goes for like Megs. Megs get destroyed as well, because they're quite squishy, and the only main thing that you have to worry about a Meg is that heavy bite and then just getting into the water. Conks as well. Conks get destroyed by Alios. Really, any 2 slot that isn't very defensive and does a lot of damage is a really easy kill for the Alio. You seen earlier in the video that me and my friend 2v3'd Conks, or 2v4 because they had Latin, and you also seen we 2v3'd Megs as well. Also really good at killing patches, because they can't get away from you unless they like jump off of a cliff. Now, even if this patchy was trying and face tank me, I still would have killed him, because I had a Tyrant Troll. Anyway, in this clip, this Suko was setting and I caught him lacking, so yeah. Just took him out real quick, and I needed the trophy, so I took it. And as soon as I delivered the trophy, this Das was the Suko's friend, and he tried to heavy bait me, and me and my friend pop a Tyrant Troll, and we just kind of bait and switch the whole time. You don't really want to face tank a Das, but even with Tyrant Troll. Recently I've been experimenting with a camera. For the in-game, you can zoom in, which I feel like is really good for fighting smaller raptors. You see me do it earlier in the video, just so you can't lose them in trees and stuff because of how tall you are. Also, I feel like it's really good for water PvP, because you see a lot of the times the water gets in the way of your vision. So yeah, I've just been zooming my camera in sometimes, and it's helped out. Still getting used to it. For anyone wondering how you would do that on consoles, is you pull up your character, slow, social and quests menu, and then you hold your bottom right trigger. So on Xbox it's RT, not sure what it is on PS. And then to zoom out it is your bottom left trigger. So on Xbox that is LT. Anyway, in this clip we're running 2 Dasp and an Alio, and we found 2 ducks and a patchy, and I was searching for the patchy because I can't get myself low from the ducks and then have the patchy finish me off when I'm low. So yeah, my main goal was to get rid of the patchy, and then once I get rid of the patchy I can help with killing the ducks. And you can see there's actually 2 patches. Sometimes I find knockback really annoying. I feel like it kind of disrupts my rhythm, and yeah, it kind of puts me off a little bit. So that was a really good thing from the patches. And you can see this guy, you know, this is the classic patchy, he tries to bait me to a cliff. Honestly, I wasn't worried too much about it, and it didn't really work out for him anyway, so yeah. And you can see one of the patches ends up dying, and I try and stay on this other one, and the Dasps do a really good job of cutting them off. Now I can't really get hit by the ducks, but every time I just chip away a little bit, just whenever I can. And you can see this patchy just gave up because there was just no way he was escaping that. And I put decent damage on these ducks, but in the end I end up getting a bit too aggressive, and you can't really get too aggressive with the Alio. You always have to be on your A game, because if you're not, you end up getting yourself killed. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the video.